Welcome back here to another episode of the Challenge Insiders. I'm back here with Drew and Chantel looking very on brand. I feel like I did not get the memo here. Drew, how are you doing?
I'm feeling like goodness gracious, great balls of fire. We got 2 seasons of the challenge to talk about.
It is exciting. Chantel, how are you?
I'm loving the fact that Drew got the memo and is dressing like a maverick. I'm obsessed with the fact that I get to wear a Halloween costume again, and it's not even October anymore. I love the challenge. I'm wondering why they're pushing this whole Top Gun Mavericks thing, because on this week on The Bachelorette, last week it was also themed with Top Gun, and I don't know, it's not supposed to come out until March 2022. So I don't know what happened, but I'm happy to dress up.
Does Top Gun maybe have some sort of a connection to Paramount or something like that? Maybe Paramount has got some rights to it, and obviously Paramount has got a lot to do with a lot of the reality shows now. Drew, you look like you are nodding in agreement there.
It is a Paramount release, but also it's been pushed back so many times. It was supposed to come out June of 2020, and then they just kept on pushing it back. So I'm wondering if they were thinking it was going to come out this time around when everybody was starting to film everything, and then all of a sudden it's all right, it's coming out way later. Kind of like the James Bond film is been pushed back for 2 years, it seems like. So it's crazy.
Yeah. There's a lot of movies like that, sadly. I mean, it's the world we live in right now, where they're trying to find the platform where they can put this on and still make some decent money. Because obviously, to make a movie, costs are pretty high. So, if you only limit it to an HBO type of deal or to a Paramount direct to Paramount to stream, you're cutting out so much when it comes to the audience, people that can watch it, and it becomes very easy to pirate. Not that I would ever do that, but you lose a lot of money, I guess, doing it that way. But this was quite a fun episode. I did like seeing people in their Top Gun suits as well when they were getting ready for the challenge, going into I guess that plane, the fighter jet that went underwater. Overall, really loved seeing everybody in it, and I thought everybody looked really, really good in it. There's something about the Top Gun, I guess, the colors of it, the aviators. Drew, you've got the moustache. Speaking the truth, saying he's very happy to see Maverick Drew showing up here today on the podcast. I thought everybody on the show looked really good in it, and I think you guys are pulling it off as well. I'm really gutted. I couldn't have gotten the gear even if I wanted to, because we're still in lockdown over here. Hopefully soon.
I don't know if it's sadly or not, but I already had this.
Yeah, no, I bought this after the first super trailer dropped, and I did a breakdown. I was like, I don't care what they're doing. I want to dress up like them. And so for one season, for one episode, I've donned all of this. So I'm getting my money's worth by wearing it everywhere I can.
Well, I'm gonna have to get some more gear. I'm gonna have to up my game as soon as we get out of this lockdown situation. Actually, I should be able to get stuff ordered and sent here, but I'll have to up my game. Start being prepared for all the different potential themes that you could have coming up on these shows. I mean, we had the beach Cancun party scene as well on the All Stars right at the start. So I could have come in even dressing up like that, like TJ.
I would have much appreciated it. I love a good dress up. Halloween's my favorite holiday. I didn't do anything for Halloween this year, and so Same. I was like, let me dress up, even though this is not going wild costume styles. But Chris, I always welcome a dress up. So if you ever put in a memo being like, hey, let's dress like this episode, I probably already have my outfit picked out. So I'm a yes.
Yeah, okay. I got a cop outfit in my closet right back here. So
I probably have a cop. I have a nurse outfit. I have a cat outfit. Those are the immediates. I have a couple lays. I got a couple sombreros. So
it's a party. Let's do this.
Cowboy hats. Yeah.
Well, I'll just double up. So I know over in the US, you don't follow rugby that often. It's kind of similar, I guess, to American football, probably the closest thing when it comes to contact sports. But you've got sevens that goes around. They do it in the US every now and again, I think in Las Vegas. They do it in Toronto, over in Canada. And people dress up every time they go to these things. And it's a World Series where you go around to different places. So whatever I buy for the podcast, I'll just use on the next one that's over here in New Zealand when I go and watch the game. I do have some some Baywatch gear left from the previous sevens that we had. So I can dress as a lifeguard at least, if the team ever comes up for us to dress up as lifeguards. So yeah, I do have something, just not as prepared as you guys coming into it. But getting into the actual episode here, and I know we've got quite a lot to talk about because we are going to go into episode 14 for the Challenge 37, and we'll also talk about the premiere episode here for All Stars 2. Probably a little bit less to talk about in All Stars 2 because there was a lot of just getting to know people again, and we went into a little bit of that in our preseason draft picks. But for episode 14, a really big focus here in this episode on Amanda. She was all over this episode from beginning to end, and she wasn't afraid to make big waves throughout this episode. Chantel, what did you think of Amanda's performance throughout this episode?
That's what we want Amanda on our screen for. She was doing Amanda, and it was exciting. It was fun. It's kind of what we've been waiting for in this season, for the vets starting to turn each other and making moves and making waves and not doing what everybody wants them to do. So I was welcoming the fact that she was trying to take her fate into her own hands, that she was threatening breaking up the Emerald Tribe, or team. I loved everything that Amanda did for the most part. Obviously some of the fights were a little bit out of hand, but what do you expect? Amanda, when she gets her back up against the wall, she definitely lashes out and fights back. So I didn't expect any less. I was actually surprised, though, a little bit by, I'm a Devin stan, but I was a little bit annoyed by Devin this episode. I was like, what? Get out of here. She can't infiltrate Emerald, because you've been protecting her all season. Get out of here, Devin. I wasn't here for him, but I was definitely proud of Amanda. I liked how she had a plan, she executed, and she followed through. So I'm here for it.
Drew?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, Amanda was on point. I'm tired of hearing these confessionals where they're like, I don't think they're here for the right reasons. What am I watching? The Challenge or The Bachelorette? Come on. They're here for the right reasons. They're here to win money. And Amanda showed that she was here to win money. Throw away somebody's playing a toxic game or somebody is playing a selfish game. That's what we're playing here on episode 14, heading into the end game here, heading into, what is it? Going to be 19 episodes are on this season. So if we're in episode 14, heading into 15, it's right around the corner. Throw that selfish garbage down the drain. You're being selfish by trying to be don't come on my team. I like my team. You stay on.
I want to win with this team.
No.
Yeah. I agree. I really enjoyed it. I mean, Devin annoyed me this episode as well. I still like Devin, but I mean, obviously for selfish reasons, he didn't want Amanda to go there, saying that Amanda's going to be the person that's going to bring the team down if she comes over. I do agree that Amanda, I think she can be difficult to work with. If I was there and if I had to choose a team member, I maybe wouldn't want Amanda in my team for the fact that she's going to do her every single time. And if you just say the wrong thing at the wrong time to her, she's going to blow up on you. And I think a great example of this is the relationship between her and Joss this episode. I still love what Amanda brought to the TV. I'm sort of putting myself outside of watching it as a fan, but if I was out there playing the game, I wouldn't use the same argument Devin used because I thought that was a weak source argument, but I wouldn't necessarily want her in my team either, if that makes sense, if I was out there playing the game. Now, Josh and Amanda has a conversation here early in the episode where Amanda really puts him in a corner and gets him to out a name as to who she could potentially infiltrate if she does go over to the Emerald team here. And she absolutely flips on him towards the end here as well. And it's the main reason why Josh really didn't want to tell her anything, but she is just socially, I think this is really showing us, I believe, and I could be on my own thing here. I know a lot of people would still really dislike Josh regardless, and he could never do anything right. But I think we are seeing a little bit of who Josh potentially is outside of the game, when a lot of people are saying they really like him outside of the game. He's a good guy outside of the game because he does try and be everybody's friend. And I think he's here in this episode trying to be Amanda's friend, trying to be loyal to the people he's got in his alliance, but he's getting kind of caught out in the middle because he does say too much. And as a Big Brother player, he should know better. I didn't rate him that highly as a Big Brother player. So once again, it shows that he had some good alliance members next to him that got him to the end, and then he was just the least, I guess, the lesser of two evils when they got to the end, and that's why he won there. But overall, I did feel bad. I don't know if I was the only one. I did feel bad a little bit for Josh here because I did feel like he was getting put in the middle of all of this. No, nobody else. I'm on my
I
own
don't feel
drift
bad. The reason why I don't feel bad for Josh is the fact that he was the one, like, I don't think that Amanda would have said anything if he didn't bring up in the deliberation, like, oh, this is the whole team that I want to run with. And she's like, you didn't say that to me. I don't think she would have brought that up. I think that him trying to play all sides and be everybody's friends is what actually got him in that mess with Amanda. He should know better with Amanda that you don't lie because she will call you out on that lie. And so if he had just kept his mouth shut, he even said it in the episode, if I'm not mistaken, that like, oh, I shouldn't have said anything, because I do not think that Amanda would have like called him out on his lies. So I can't really feel sorry for him because he kind of did it to himself, this particular part of the episode.
Yeah, Amanda was just bringing up receipts. Josh was the one. I think the thing is that Josh, Devin and Amanda seemed like they were going at each other over and over again, and just kind of like Devin was really laying into Amanda, and then Josh wanted to like intervene to be like, I'm totally 100% Emerald. I'm going to back up my friend Devin because I want to show team unity. And that's when Amanda was like, where was that team unity when you kind of told me that I could take Tori's spot? And so I don't feel bad for Josh because he could have said no comment. He could have walked away from the conversation earlier in the bed with Amanda being able to walk away from the pool and stuff. And he could have just not answered it at all. But he answered it. He knew what he was doing. And at that point, Amanda already knows in her mind what she wants to do. She already knows probably who she wants to call out. She knows that she's going to swap over to the Emerald team. So Josh saying everything was just theatrics, in my opinion. And I was giggling through that nomination when Amanda was like, oh yeah, you want to bring this up now? I love that.
I enjoyed watching it. Yeah, no, I hear you. And I did enjoy the drama she brought to that. And this is going to be a two-edged sword here because I have not enjoyed Tori this whole season. She's just really been difficult to watch, being part of this Emerald team, gloating about the fact that, oh, you know, I love these guys, I want to stay in this team. Like, I mean, really just haven't been behind it. But I can get behind the Tori as an underdog, Tori as someone that's coming back wanting revenge because his spot's just been taken. I can get behind that, seeing a little bit of a flame, hopefully, here ignited within Tori to come back with a vengeance here in the future dailies that they're going into is going to bring that much more to the game. And Tori is going to go hard, I think, moving forward here. She is not in that team anymore. She now has to fight for a different team. And I do like the look of Nelson and Kyle and Tori together as a team. They're pretty, I think they're going to be a pretty strong team moving forward here as well. So I'd like to see what they're going to do. Nelson feels like he's upgraded here in this spot.
Yeah, I definitely think, like, if you're talking about sheer physicality, I do think that Tori is a lot stronger. She works out. She has a different kind of mindset around fitness and lifting weights and stuff like that. So she's definitely going to be very useful for certain challenges. And seemingly what the next challenge is, they're going to be like going head to head in these kind of, I don't know,
it's a throwback
thingies, whatever. I don't know what to call them. Those little alleyways
ditches
or whatnot.
It's like little ditches you run into.
Yeah.
Trenches,
yeah.
Bridges, whatever. But, you know, so the fact that Tori is a bigger girl is going to play in their favor going against someone small like Amanda. So, and even Nani is pretty small. So yes, it's going to bode well for her, for that team, for Ruby. So definitely an upgrade in physical. I don't know if it's an upgrade for the mental side of it, because Amanda is usually the puzzle person when it was like the Ruby team. So I hope there will not be a puzzle coming up soon because they might be stumped for a little while.
Yeah, they were stumped this eepisode. I mean, let's just be real. They were stumped this episode. They were having the hardest time. So yeah, I don't think anything's really going to change. I'm just going to be point blank. I don't think anybody's going to change. I think everybody on that team wants to get away from each other as soon as possible. So I could see Tori wanting to leave ASAP. I could see Kyle wanting to leave ASAP. And I just feel like that team is just going to be a mishmash of players that lost eliminations or got swapped out of teams. And that's what's going to happen later on as we get through the game and stuff. And that's what's going to happen.
So if that's the case, Drew, how do you feel about Nelson's chances there? Because if Kyle leaves and Tori leaves, and they get replaced hopefully by someone, or Nelson ends up being in a team there of his own. I mean, he's your number one pick here. He's the guy you've been sort of fighting for the whole season, saying he's going to win this thing. What's the path here for Nelly T? If you were Nelly T, how do you get to the end at this point, being in that train wreck of a team that nobody wants to be a part of?
I try to make a deal with anybody to get off my team and to make it onto a different team. I don't care if I'm going to Sapphire at this point. I just want to get off that team. I don't care who has 3, who has 2. If I'm with CT or if I'm with on the Emerald 6, whatever, I think I have a better shot than who I'm currently with in the Ruby team. Because like I said, we have a guys' day coming up. If Kyle sees an opportunity and really pushes some buttons, he wants to get thrown into the elimination to swap up with anybody. The same thing with Big T wanted to leave Ruby this episode and wanted to leave ASAP, and then Tori wants to leave and get her spot back on Emerald. So it's not looking good for Nelson, who doesn't seem to have any aspirations on getting out or possibly not even being voted in because he has such a good elimination record. But maybe he can work his magic and try to, like, I don't know. We have 4 players, but it's not going to work out. I think if you're Nelson, you're just trying to move teams like everybody else on the Ruby team. Just move teams and pray that you can get farther.
How good was the Devin and Kyle monologue up on the roof when Nelson was walking up and down and Devin was just pretending to beat Nelson in that moment? How funny was that part? And Devin just had him down pat, and he's like, "Hey guys," as he's walking there, no idea that they're talking about him.
I literally laughed out loud. I was like, this is really funny. I was like, all right, Devin, you're funny. You're funny this episode so far. I thought it was a really good added in. It was kind of like National Geographic style, where watching an animal in his prey as he walks up and down, and it was great. It was very funny.
Yeah, it was really good.
Now, I mean, this episode was quite interesting for a few different reasons. We, had to sort of find out that CT, he was never going to put anybody in from Emerald. He felt he owed them because they've kept him safe for quite a while. And then due to that, the natural choices were going to be between probably Amanda and Big T here. And the big thing here for Logan and CT throughout this whole episode is they're thinking, how can we prevent Emmy from being stolen and having Amanda or Big T come over to our team? And, Big T was someone that they really like. I mean, I felt a bit bad for her here. She's got her former crush or person that she spent a bit of time with and got to know a little bit better. And someone like CT, who she also had a very close relationship with in the previous season, and they were partners at one point, and both of them are rejecting her outright. I felt really, really bad for Big T here. And I will admit, when she didn't get eliminated at the end, I'm not someone that feels emotional about stuff, but I was a little bit like, oh, you go Big T, you're getting another shot. I was a bit happy for her at the end here because I felt like so many things were going against her. And she just continues to be, I guess, almost like the butt of the jokes, or the person that no one wants to work with here.
Yeah, I kind of, when she got called back, I was like, oh, I don't even know if she wants to be back anymore. Like, I think that she was kind of like, okay, I did it. I lost. I'm done. And then, I have to come back and still feel like garbage and people not want to work with me and still try to fight to stay here, but I'm probably going to be thrown in every single time until the final. So I kind of felt bad for Big T, just for the fact that I think that her spirit was kind of taken away this season. She just didn't seem as happy as she used to be, like last season and the seasons before. She kind of had a little bit more fire, and this one, the wind was just taken out of her sails, it seems. So, Big T. She has my heart, but I don't know if this game is right for her.
I think that this is one of the hardest seasons, if not her hardest season, because of how long this season has been. And she is a vet, so she's part of the vet truce, but nobody really sees her as an asset or really sees her as a vet. If anything, they see her as expendable, kind of like how Tori was feeling bad about being expendable. Everyone just sees Big T as an expendable in this game. And I hate, like, we understand how everybody feels about Big T at this point. Yeah. Like, we got it. We've seen the confessionals for 14 episodes. We don't need to see more just dumping. And Logan being like, if she comes over, I'm going to go back to Ruby. I hated Ruby, but that's how much I would go back. It's like, all right, we get it. We're like, I feel like, again, I think Big T wants to be here, and she really takes this seriously, but just to continuously get dumped on over and over and over again, and to have it like nationally put out there for all global stuff, like it sucks. Like it really does. I feel bad for it. And she can play it off in the aftermath, and I think she can play it off on TV, but I mean, I would feel like garbage, to say the least.
Yeah, so Adrienne says that sad that Big T isn't coming back to 38, but happy she's applying to culinary school. So I'm assuming that was in the aftermath. I didn't have time this week to watch the aftermath, or maybe it came out somewhere else. But
there was a tweet.
If that is, so if Big T is taking a break, I think Drew, it might have been you who spoke about the fact that you want there to be a cutoff after a certain amount of seasons. If you've played, like, say, 3 seasons in a row, have a break, be forced to have a break, then come back, where I think that mentally it takes a toll on you if you've played the show for so long. And I mean, Big T, I think, is just too pure for the show in some ways, where she really wants to make these deep connections and become friends with people. And she does have a bright personality. And I don't want to see that being taken away from her after playing season after season, being betrayed by people she cares about consistently. That is the name of the game. That's what you're going to sign up for when you come and play this game. But it still makes the show more interesting when you see different personality types playing the game. You don't want everybody to be like Kyle, because that's going to get boring as well. You want to see people that are pure of heart playing the game, getting backstabbed, being a deer in headlights. I think variety is the spice of life. And that's why I enjoy seeing Big T there, but I don't want this show that we love to watch, break her and change her from who she is as a person. So I'm happy with her taking a break. I just hope after 1 or 2 or 3 seasons she does come back again, because I love seeing her on my screen, and I'm selfish.
She did say in that same post that she wants to train and come back and be a little more of a physical competitor. And so she said that she doesn't think that the time off between this season and next season is enough time for her to get in physical shape. And so she's going to go to culinary school, work on her fitness, and come back as more of a competitor. So if she does that, I can't remember who it was, but I feel like maybe it's like Anissa. We're always like, yeah, come train and come back and win. I love the idea of that. So if she does train, come back and become somebody that everybody wants to be paired with, that would be awesome. She lives in the UK. Maybe she could hook up with Jenny West and her twin sister and get them to put her on a workout regime and come back as some beast. That would be so cool. I'd be so down for that.
Yeah, I'll miss Big T, but I definitely want to see her come back stronger, more focused, better than ever. I think she's played from 35 since 34 to now, completely straight through. And I think that taking that time off will help her and maybe refocus her and get that energy, kind of like how Corey said. So yeah, I'll be more than happy to see Big T come back on my TV screen.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're episode 14 right now. So we've got probably another guys elimination and another girls elimination coming up. Or one of the questions here earlier, I think it was Dolores who asked, do we think a double elimination is coming soon? It could be the next episode. We could have an episode 15, both a girl and a guy go home at this point, potentially, to go into the final stages of the game, I guess, getting into the final. But one of the things I want to explore is Big T still being in the game, because we're talking about her like she's already out of this season. Do we just think it's a foregone conclusion she's not going to make the final here? And, I don't know if it's a foregone conclusion, but if I'm Tori, I want to come back for a vengeance. Amanda's just done me dirty. If I lose, I ask to be thrown in by Emerald, who's friends with her. I'd take Big T on. Do a headbanger, do something like that. I feel like Big T is really that layup that Big Tori can easily go in there, beat her, and take that spot back in Emerald, and nothing's changed. I think there's a big possibility for something like that to happen. So she might just go down again in the next round, and it's an easy thing to get her back down there. And Tori's got enough friends in the game. CT might still feel some sort of a loyalty to that green team, which Tori was a part of, to give her that, even if he wins the Sapphire. As long as Tori says, I'm not coming to your team, I'm keeping Emmy with you guys. Why not? It's a safe bet, I guess, in this case. And Tori is a very good chance to beat Big T in most eliminations.
Yeah, I mean, I think that that's most likely what's going to happen. I think that if it's a girls' elimination, I think most women would feel most confident going against Big T in an elimination. And they also just saw her lose one. They're like, okay, well, she's beatable at least. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think that she's most likely going to go in as often as there's girls' eliminations.
Big T is in what we like to call the danger zone. And she will probably be called back out. But I just want to throw this out there. For weeks and weeks, you guys were talking about, oh, well, Big T is still there on your team. She's going to go out and you're going to lose Big T. Well, guess what? 2 of my players went into the elimination this episode, and you still couldn't get one of my players eliminated. I still got everybody on my spot.
I was so annoyed by that. I was like, man, oh man. I'm like, Ashley, keep your mouth shut. Killed. So frustrated because like I do think that Ashley did have a really good shot at winning this season. And it's just really unfortunate that she lost her spot in the game. It really sucks. Now, I know that CT does not want Big T on his team, but do you think that it was fair that since Ashley was the one that left, that Big T didn't make them at least have a team of 4? Because I think it's a really big disadvantage to only have a team of 3. Even with Ruby having a team of 4 now, they could potentially beat Sapphire if they, depending on the competition.
How's it going to work in this next episode, really, when you've got they've got to go head to head going into those trenches when they're running in there. I've got a feeling that people like CT and Kyle might have to go. One of them might have to go twice. Emmy might have to go 3 times. And I would back Emmy in a physical headbanger against most going down there. So maybe it's not that big of a disadvantage if they get to go twice. There's going to have to be some. I feel like this is maybe the one time where it's going to count in their favor having less people in this next challenge, because even in this specific daily here, it was an absolute shocker that Emerald lost it, because they had additional people there that could get the puzzle pieces under the plane, additional people that could swim it out, additional people that could look at what the combination was underneath the plane to shout it out to people on the side. I was absolutely shocked that they lost this one. That just shows how bad Josh messed up this episode and how bad the communication was out there between the Emerald, which was surprising. But I think that maybe for this next daily, it could be an advantage, because I don't know how else they do head-to-heads if certain people in these teams aren't going to go twice.
I don't know what they're going to do. It's that's why I don't like these uneven teams. And so I wish that they kind of resolved the fact that
or something.
Maybe they will reshuffle, actually.
Yeah. I thought with the collecting of the puzzle pieces, Emerald was going to get it easily because of the 6, but they didn't specify who was going to read what in what order. The communication was terrible. I think Josh gets too frantic. And so when he leaves a puzzle, when he left the puzzle on himself, it reminded me of Total Madness, where he kicked off the puzzle piece like 5 seconds into the truck puzzle daily challenge, where he just kicked it off and he's like, I lost a piece. He even says he joshed it up, and then trying to like yell out 3 different lines at the same time was madness. They should have just done 2 people stayed in the water, 1 person is constantly going around, and then the 3 people are up or 4 people are up at the puzzle station, since everybody had to be at the puzzle station for them to get a full check. So, I mean, their strategy was terrible. They just kind of threw it out the window. So yeah, it was just horrific. And I think it just shows how bad Emerald can be on any given day. And I mean, they could have lost a couple of times during their 4 daily challenge win runs, except like Kyle messed up. And then there was another like technicality, I think, that messed it up for some other team. So yeah, I don't know how this one's going to go. I think Emerald still could do better just because they have 6 people and they'll have fresh legs as they're going through the trenches, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, it's possible, and having fresh legs is definitely going to be an advantage. Rodrigo here, though, says that Emerald is going to lose a head banger because they suck physically. If you look at the team there, they've got Devin, They've got Josh, and they've got Emmanuel. Emmanuel's been pretty good this season. He's not the biggest guy. He's pretty athletic, but I don't think he's going to run over a Kyle or over even a Nell. Like, I mean, Nelly T, I always have to give credit where it's due. The one where he lost against Fessy was one of the craziest for me, hall brawls that I've seen, because the size difference between those guys was so massive. I mean, Nelly nearly fitted him by his hips, when they ran in there, but Nelly was holding his own and really making it hard for Fessy out there to win that challenge, which for me shows that pound for pound, Nelly T is really physical, and I don't think most of these guys are going to take him on in this thing as well. I think he's going to hold his own against the likes of an Emmanuel, Josh. Josh is he's like, you wouldn't necessarily believe he's going to be very good. He has worked on his physical strength over the last couple of seasons. He did have the handoff on Kyle earlier in the season where he did the Heisman and ran past them to get the touchdown. So you don't know what's going to happen there, but you can't run past someone or hand them off you. You've got to go through them. So it's a little bit of a different skill set that's going to be required. The only person in Emerald I feel confident about, and I think we even see this in the next on trailer, is Casey. Casey is going to run over any of the girls, and I think that the person she ran over in that preview is Tori, which is going to be impressive. we got a little bit of a chat, like who would take who on physically if they had to go down there and do it. But I mean, Tori is physical and she is pretty strong, but Casey, I mean, she nearly made a living. It was nearly her professional career doing this. So I would back her any day of the week.
Yeah, I think that's going to be hilarious if it's going to be, Tori's coming back with vengeance and then she ends up like getting taken out by Casey. So that'll be hilarious to me. Yeah, I don't think that Ruby's going to win. I do think that Sapphire has a shot in that next daily.
I think so.
Just because all three of them are strong and decently fast. So yeah, I'm gonna put my money on Sapphire and expect that Emerald's gonna mess up.
Logan is the only question mark there, Drew, because he's got a potential injury, right? So we don't know how he's going to do if he goes down there. But I do still think Sapphire, if you've got CT going down twice, and if you've got Emmy going down twice, potentially, if that is how it's going to play out, I would back those two to do pretty well. And the same thing could happen with Tori. I think she will have to go more than once down there, and maybe Casey beats her, but I'm sure Tori could beat Nani or Amanda in her sleep down there if she had to go up against them in a headbanger.
Yeah, that's the only question mark that I had, was how severe is Logan's injury? Is it healing up? He's going to be going through angles as well as hitting people full on. So it's going to be interesting to see how the strategy is. But I think there's going to be a lot of wall hugging, especially for the men's side. They don't want any heat from CT. I will say the hit from Casey to Tori, it seems like Casey gets to the edge quicker. And so she gets to watch Tori come running full speed, and then she just lets her have it right around the corner instead of them just running at each other, like not knowing. It seems like Casey is like, I'm gonna wait here. I'm gonna get her. I'm gonna pop her one.
She's gonna get winded. Oh dear.
I can't wait to see it. It's all about technique. It's all about technique, and Casey's got that technique. She knows how to go into contact, you can be a big guy, but if you don't know how to throw your weight around, or a big girl, you don't know how to throw your weight around, you're not going to be able to get them off balance. So I can't wait to see that. But I also wanted to touch on, I guess, Ashley here, and Sam, welcome back to the live stream. It's great to have you back. He asked, do you think Ashley is done with the challenge? And I'm in the complete dark as to what's happened with Ashley. I've actually had friends who, believe it or not, I do have some real life friends as well, who watches our podcast every now and again, and they ask me when the episode aired, before I even saw it, what happened to Ashley? Do you have any tea on what happened to that? Because I didn't know what was going on. I was like, did Ashley betray someone? Like I came into this episode fully expecting Amanda to be the person going down. I think the episodes have been setting this up for a while. So at one point I thought, there's no way Ashley is going, and then suddenly she gets pulled in the most weirdest of ways out of this game. Is there anything that we can talk about, speculate, or is this something that we shouldn't be talking about? Like, what do we know?
So apparently she got into a fight with Josh and made a comment about his sexuality. And Josh was very upset by it, went to the producers, also Logan and And Devin went to the producers as well and saying that she can't be saying things like this, especially on camera. Like, we want her off the show. So they kind of went to the producers and said that she can't be here anymore. So that's all I know. Do you know any more, Drew?
No, I don't know much else. What you just said is like the rumor that I've been hearing, is that rumor, speculation / T accounts all saying it. So yeah, that's basically all I've heard as well.
And Ashley's also like, she had like a statement that said something like, I totally respect MTV and TJ for their decision, and all I can say is that I can do better. I'm going to be a change person. Like, hopefully that I can mend my relationship. So it doesn't seem like she's done forever, but she's definitely was done for this season.
Yeah, and I also saw that she had a tweet that said that she was taking anger management classes and trying to, that something is like, to change behavior would be the best way to like do everything. So yeah, she's working on herself. She's taking time away for herself and living her life and stuff. So I mean, yeah, I really have nothing else to add more into this conversation, since what we've already said. I mean, we saw what happened, and it seemed like everybody knew right off the bat. Like, they wanted to play off like, oh, there's only 3 people out of the 4. But I mean, Amanda says it clearly, like, where would I go? Why would I go to Sapphire? They only have 3 people. And then when she's talking with Josh and getting her food, she's like, I only have 1 friend in the game, and that's Nelson. So I mean, if Ashley was just away or was getting checked out medically or was needing to be at a hotel for a little while and was coming back, and if they really didn't know, she wouldn't have said that. So I mean, they pretty much knew right off the bat what was going on. I guess it happened like after the club scene is what I would speculate, because Ashley was there, and then we go right into the nominations where she wasn't there. So I'm sure that's what was happening.
Yeah, and I was wondering if it had to do something with the fact that Ashley seemed to want to save Amanda if she could in that instance, and CT didn't want to move on who they were going to vote for, and he was very gung-ho on not putting someone from Emerald in there because Emerald's been keeping him safe, and he didn't want to go there, which makes sense. And I wasn't too sure if that's maybe what got her really angry, and maybe that's something where she popped off, which Ashley does do. She does pop off on people, and it's a shame to see, because I agree with Chantel. She's had a good season. She was in a very strong team. This specific challenge, the communication between her and CT, like, it just once again showed why CT wanted to work with her last season, which didn't end up working for them, because CT and Ashley seem to have a good rhythm between the two of them when they are in a flow state. They both trust each other. There's no yelling at each other because they know both of them are super capable. So it's sad to see. And I mean, obviously, we don't know if Ashley will ever be back on a challenge season. By the sounds of it, if she's doing all this work to get herself in a better place, it sounds like she would want to be back on the challenge in the future.
I will say that there was that tweet that she was asked to be on All Stars, and I'm sure she was asked to be on All Stars after all of this had already was done and was already out there, and the season was already filmed. So I can only expect that she will probably be back on a challenge season. Maybe not next season. I don't know. I haven't heard anything, but I'm sure we'll probably see her back.
And there's also a chance that, if Josh is on that season, that they wouldn't put them back on the same season or something like that, so they might go the All-Stars route, because Josh is not going to be on All-Stars anytime soon, let's be honest. So yeah, I mean, I hope she does come back. I hope that she gets herself in a good place. And yeah, I mean, we don't know what happened behind the scenes and what was said, but it does not sound good. I've got to be honest. Like, it's hard to defend Ashley if that is what happened, but we don't know much more on that, so we can't really talk to it too much at this stage. We also had here Rodrigo asking, was I the only one laughing when Nani and the rest of the Emerald team said that they carried Amanda when Nani can't even walk on her own without someone in the game helping her? And here's the question on that one. Josh, an idiot for more than one reason. Why would you want to get rid of Tori if Nani is still in your team? And it's just this sense of loyalty, I guess, via Casey, who's the first person he wanted to protect, and then obviously Nani being Casey's girlfriend. Like, I just think it's just bad overall. Like, Nani, to me and that team is the one that, if you're saying, I don't know if Nani's overrated. I like Nani as a person. Do I think she's a great challenger? No.
But she did make it to the final last season and she crossed the finish line. So she does have the experience that Josh doesn't have at all. Casey, obviously, she's been to all the final, like every season she's been on, she's been to the final, but she didn't complete them. So regardless of whether Nani isn't the most athletic or whatnot, she actually at least completes them. And I think that bodes well for just having that experience on their team. Tori also, she's been to a final, but she couldn't finish that puzzle. And so I think that Nani actually has the most experience, at least out of the people, with completing a final on their team. And I guess Devin, but she's done it twice, and I guess Devin has only done it once.
Nani's good at politicking, and she's good at maneuvering her way to a final. But is she the person that's going to win a final? Like, I mean, listen, I will eat my words if Emerald does end up winning and Nani is a champion. I've just never ever seen Nani as someone that is going to be Nani challenge champion. I've just never personally seen that. So I get it when Rodrigo said that he was laughing a bit here, because I personally think Nani is just really good at getting to a final because she's good politically. It doesn't make her a good challenger. She hasn't necessarily been great in that sense. But I will agree that if I had to choose a partner and I was new to the game, I think she would be one of the better partners to have because she would take you under her wing. She does have the connections and she does work good in duos. Like, I will admit that. But I don't know if she's the person that I would choose if I wanted to necessarily win the season, if that makes sense.
No, I don't know if I'd choose Tori either. Like, Tori, she's strong, yes, but I don't know if she's that well-rounded. I think Nani's a little bit more well-rounded. Like, she's not great at anything, but she's better at some things than Tori is at all. And I'm mostly talking about the puzzle and math.
Yeah.
Who's a better runner?
Probably.
I just need you to run.
Tori.
Yeah,
probably Tori.
Yeah,
probably Tori, just because she trains.
But Josh
Tori would eat anything, right? Like, I don't think she's going to be like,
I've never
eating anything.
Did they have to eat on War of the Worlds too? I don't think they did.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And did she eat? I can't even picture her eating.
She was telling everybody that she was the one that said that everything tasted like a chicken nugget. And she was like, everything tastes like a chicken nugget. Just eat it. That's what I remember the most about that.
Because she's your new favorite player. I forgot.
That is definitely not the case.
Drew's got the Tori watch on for each season now. Next video to come out, Tori, the Tori saga.
The legend of Tori.
Listen, like, I mean, I'm just looking at it. Yeah, like, I understand where you're coming from, Rodrigo. I also
I definitely
I enjoy Nani. Yeah, I enjoy Nani. Like, she's decent on our screen. But she's become a bit more boring now that she's with Casey. Let's be honest. Like, I mean, Casey's really, like, I mean, she had that moment this episode where she was flipping out on Amanda for going at Casey, which was a bit of fun. But there's like a little bit of the old Nani that is still in there. But she has become pretty neutral and a bit vanilla as a character for me this season.
I mean, I loved her. Her line that she said was, "I'm a nice person, but I'm still crazy. Don't test me." I'm like, test her. I want to see Nani go crazy, please. And I love the fact that Casey was turned on by angry Nani.
It's like, who's this person?
It's like, ooh, he's defending me.
Yeah. The actual, I guess, arena battle that happened down there, what did you guys think of it? We spoke a little bit about the daily. I thought the daily was pretty cool, creative, it was something different. Played out well for me. What did you guys think of, I guess, both? You can talk a little bit about both here. If there's any one of the two, the daily challenge or the elimination challenge, you guys feel a bit stronger about here. What did you think of the elimination here? And do you think, Amanda was talking a big game throughout this whole process of going down there. Do you think if it was a puzzle type of thing that she was going down there, she would have taken the shot here at Tori? Or do you think that was never going to be an option for her due to the fact that if she did choose someone from Emerald, it would have taken a number down, which would have meant she would have eventually had to take the spot of Nani or Casey. And I felt like she wasn't completely willing to burn that bridge with Josh.
Yeah, I think this was always her MO, was to go down against Big T and take Tori's spot. I know that she was playing it up, and Tori called her out on it and being like, "I think this is just some smoke and mirrors. I think that she's just threatening us, but like I don't think that she's actually going to go and call one of us down." But I 100% thought that her whole plan the whole time was to go down against Big T. I know she says like, "Oh, I went down and I looked at it, and I think she was always going to do that, and she was going to take Tori's spot. So that's why I think that she executed her plan from the beginning. That's what her intention was.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
The challenge itself, Chantal, did you like the challenge that they had to go up against each other in the arena there?
It was pretty, like, I thought it was a good challenge. I think it was something that everybody could do. And the fact that Amanda didn't freak out, she just was doing it in slow little increments, and like she was just being steady and kind of meticulous about it. I thought it was really I thought it was a good challenge for that. And I think that she, when she got to the top, I got a little emotional for her because like I know she is playing for her family. I know she's a little bit wild and she pops off, but I think to the core she is a good person that wants to do well and wants to be people to like her and think that she's a good competitor. Like I think she still has all that, even though she puts up this wall. So when she got to the top, I felt for her, and when she jumped, I was like, I was kind of rooting for her there, being like, yes, you do it, Amanda, you hit that bell. So I liked it, and I got worried for a second that Big T was going to beat her, but then that disappeared pretty quickly.
Yeah, I really like both. This is one of the episodes where I like both competitions in the episode. That I thought the daily was pretty good. It worked on communication, it worked on skills, it worked on teamwork, puzzles. There was some physicality to it, and there was a little bit of flair with the mock-up airplane and the jet fighter, and everybody gets to kind of have their fun with the jet fighter suits and stuff. And I enjoyed this elimination for the sole fact that I think it was even keel for both competitors. Like one didn't have an inherent better ability than the other one in this challenge. That both Big T and Amanda were doing well. Amanda got off to an early lead, then they got locked in a deadlock at like vault 4, and then all of a sudden Amanda just kind of like kept her good rhythm and was able to get the win. I thought it was a really decent matchup. I will say that I would like to see a little bit more headbangers for the women on the women's side. I mean, we got a pole wrestle from Kyle and Ed, and what have we gotten with the women was undigging tires up and then hit battering ram with a rocket on targets, and now vaults.
There was one hall brawl though.
There was one, but I would like to see a little bit more of, because I always think that the women have more physicality than I think that what the challenge and even the competitors like give them credit for. And I've always felt like they bring up the better matchups than even some of the guy matchups that we've seen. So I would like to see a little bit more. I would like to see a pole wrestle once in a while, but I did enjoy this one. It had some creativity, and Amanda had a very impressive win.
Yeah, I like both challenges as well. I can't add much to what you just said there, Drew, for the daily and also for the challenge at the end. I think the only thing that sort of stood out for me was that, yes, Amanda stayed calm, but also Amanda, I think, had a consistent pace throughout it as well, which she kept, which, when it comes to endurance and any small incremental movements that you make actually will save energy as you go up that I guess the beams that she was pulling out, where with Big T she was a bit more frantic, a little bit more flustered, making bigger movements, and her forearms started giving out on her towards the end, and she was really struggling to get up there, which was sad to see. And Amanda doesn't have the best elimination record from memory. I think she's got 2 wins and 6 losses going into this one. So for her, she would have been really nervous going down into that. But what was really funny for me in this episode was where people were saying, Amanda would really want to go down there or anything like that, and she's not going to try and prove a point. And I was like, do you guys not watch Final Reckoning? When she was like putting herself in there with Zach? She's like, just to prove a point, I will go down there. She's that type of person, very stubborn. So that's why I said, like, I agree. She's probably a really nice person outside of the game. I think, she does, like, to be a nurse, you have to be a caring person to a certain degree. You're not going to be in that type of profession if you're not a caring person and care more about others than yourself. And she had to put herself in harm's way in the midst of everything when it was at its worst, right? So I really take my hat off to her and salute the people the frontline workers that have been busy helping people out there throughout the last couple of years. So that's admirable in itself. But in the game of the challenge, I think that's the whole reason why I would find it so hard to work with her, because if she gets an idea in her head, if you say the wrong thing to her at the wrong time, I think it's going to be impossible to turn her around. And I know this very well because I've got a sister who's very similar to this as well. So I know that type of personality. It's like, okay, you're going to do you. I'm not going to be able to convince you differently, So, and that's not the type of person you want to be in a partnership with or in a team. So understand why Emerald didn't want to get her. And when she chose to go there, Devin is like, this is the kiss of death. But they were not great at trying to convince her to go somewhere else or doing anything. Like, there was better ways they could have put it across. And I think it's an epic fail here for Emerald overall. But it was going to happen, inevitable. Like, I mean, Emerald was in absolute la-la land that they thought that no one was going to infiltrate them at some point in this game. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is going to open the floodgates and we're going to see more people shifting around here in the last potentially 2 rounds before we go into a finale. And really excited to see how this is going to play out this season moving forward. Guys, is there anything that we haven't touched on, I guess, for the Challenge Season 37? Anything you guys want to bring up before we move on to All-Stars 2?
Just the last little bit. TJ seemed happy that Amanda infiltrated Emerald. So I'm wondering if that means that he has a little bit of a shakeup coming up, because I think he was also maybe a little bit bored with nobody infiltrating and like what's going on here. So I feel like a shakeup is coming. I'm not sure if it's going to be before the next thing or after the next elimination, but I think that by the end of next episode, we will know maybe the format of the final, or if it's going to be in groups or whatnot. I think that will happen. I hope.
Yeah. The only thing I wanted to bring up was that I really appreciated what the challenge did, because I think in the past they would have just said, oh, somebody already went home, we're not going to have an elimination. And instead they were like, we're going to keep on going with the elimination. We'll still bring Big T back. And so we get that TV moment of still seeing an elimination this episode, still going through with it. And then they can have Amanda infiltrate and still have that moment, still have her be able to do her moves, which I was very appreciative on. Hats off to MTV for doing that and giving us that moment. So I was very happy with that.
So happy. I hate no eliminations, which we're going to probably talk about in like 5 minutes.
Yeah. And it's the key thing here, Drew, is what you said about allowing strategy to play out. Like, we've seen it a few times in the past where we're like, yes, a plan is action. It's going to happen this episode. And then whop, no elimination, or we're going to change something up so that can't happen moving forward. And I think we were even disappointed until last season in All-Stars 1 when finally the format of the show, when it was changing, people were starting to use it strategically. And then we ended at 1 round probably or 2 rounds too early, because there was a lot of kumbaya in All-Stars 1 where people were working together. It didn't seem to be much hurt feelings between people. I thought it was pretty straightforward, where a big group of people were able to keep themselves safe going into the end game. And we were just going to start seeing that strategy, and we just didn't see it, where we do see this here in the Challenge 37. But segueing into All-Stars 2, we have got some explosive characters coming back for All-Stars 2. And, I kind of slept on Tina when we did this preseason draft picks. And I didn't put 2 and 2 together because she looked somewhat different on the photos when I looked at it. I didn't realize she was the girl who punched Beth. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, I saw both those seasons with her on it. And now I feel like I've missed out so much, Chantel, and you've got her in your team.
Didn't I say that when I drafted her? Did I say
maybe
like
you did,
with the draft with the punch? I had to have brought it up because like that's Tina. Like,
yeah, it just went over my head, and I was somewhere in La La Land when we were doing this, but she was all over this first episode, doing all the confessionals, doing a lot, and I really enjoyed what she brought to the show. And I feel like if she stays long enough, this is going to be an explosive season, because she is not going to hold back this season at all. And I'm loving the fact that she's going to be on our screens again. She says that she's a bit more mature now coming back into the show. She's got kids and all that, but she's still the same person we saw back, in the day when she was playing. To me, I don't feel like she's changed that much at all. Did anybody else have deja vu?
She's pretty similar to me, and we're seeing in the season trailer where she's banging pots and pans, saying "Nice Tina is gone." I'm just like, was she ever
was
here?
never there.
Yeah, Tina is fantastic. I loved every moment that she was on the screen. I think she's gotten better. I'm not gonna lie. I there was some moments back in the day where I was like, "Oh, Tina's doing Tina again." And then coming back this season, I was like, "Is she gonna mature? How much Tina is still left in Tina?" And she came back,
Tina.
and it's
Full
kind of
Tina.
like in All Star season 1 where Katie was like, "It's like we're reverting back 20 years ago, back to our 20s." And Tina was like, "I don't have kids. I have a husband. I don't work, and I got a pool. And now I'm here, and I'm ready to just." Cut somebody is basically what she said to Janae at the bar. So I mean, yeah, she had the most confessionals with 8 that I counted in points. So Chantel, you had all those points given to you. I have them all. I have all the points racked up. I watched this episode like 3 times to make sure I got everything down pat. But yeah, Tina was amazing.
Well, I guess it's a great point. Like, let's move into the points because I'm very interested to see who got what points for this episode, and who is sitting where. And we can have a look at the. I guess we can share who we've got in our teams up front as well, and then we can sort of have a chat about that as well. But I think that Tina and Ayanna were 2 of the people that were probably on our screens the most here in the opening episode. So both Drew and Chantel, I've got a sneaky suspicion you guys are pulling away here with the points early on.
You might not be so correct.
Oh, really?
I will say. No, to do the total points, Chris actually has the most points with 35 points. You cleaned up with Derrick and Darrell this episode. Derrick actually had like 7 confessionals, and he got the daily challenge win. And then Darrell had 6 confessionals. Tina, because of Jody and Tina, you got 28 points. And I am coming from behind with 22 points. Tech and Nehemiah were my point getters in the confessionals, but I have 22 points. But it is only episode 1, and we haven't gotten an elimination. I'm praying Nehemiah can pull it out since he is officially in the elimination. So is Ayanna. So I'm really pushing out for those 6 points to get 2 elimination wins. But yeah, Chris, you're cleaning up with. They're putting Derrick and Darrell up front, and they want them to be the faces. And Darrell's having an amazing confessionals. I won't lie.
I was so shocked when we did the draft picks that I got both Darrell and Derrick. I did not think I was going to get Derrick come back to me. And for me, I think that Derrick, like we said in our draft picks, he does a lot of work behind the scenes for the challenge with his podcast. He does a lot of social media stuff for it. So I do think that they want to push that. But another person here who had quite a bit of confessionals early on, I guess, was Brad coming back in. And there's a lot of talk about Brad, Drew, being someone that has got a reputation in the challenge, and he believes he can stand up with the best here. He's had some tough stuff happening in his personal life, losing his job during what's happened over the last year, and he wants to come back to prove himself. And we know that there's some other stuff happening outside of the game as well, where he wants to prove that he can be a responsible dad. And then the other person here, if we're looking at the men, because we've been talking about Darrell and Derrick, and we'll go to the ladies pretty soon. I thought Brad had quite a lot of early, just enough for us to know who he is and he's there. And then Nehemiah was all over this first episode, but probably the reason for Nehemiah being all over this first episode is because I guess a couple of things happened this episode, but he does go down there, and he chose Ayanna when Tina wanted to be his partner, shading her there in the daily challenge. What do you guys think was the reasoning behind this? Do you think that Beth had a bit of a chat with him beforehand and said, "You're not allowed to play with Tina because she's my arch nemesis," or something like this?
Well, he was on the duel with her, wasn't? Yeah. So he knows Tina. He might not really remember her to be a big competitor, which he should, though. But I think that he just was worried about like having a big personality that might not listen. They might not get along very well. And so I think that he was just like, I'm not sure if I'm going to work well with Tina or not. So I know I can work well with Ayanna. So let me take the Ayanna who's standing right here in front of me that's willing to like work with me.
Yeah, there was a lot of questionable pairings to the point where I think it's like, you know how you're having group projects in class and you kind of just like when they're saying pair up and you don't really know too many people. So you just like look and you're like, we're sitting next to each other. We'll do it. We'll be paired up. I think that's what the mentality was for these early pairings, that they had the women on the bottom, the men on top, and they were just like, oh, yeah, we'll just. And the same thing happened with Leah, with Laterian, the same thing with Steve and Tina at the end, when Steve was just standing there kind of like, I don't know what to do. And Tina was like, all right, I'll be partnered up with you. I think unless they had that connection, kind of like Darrell and Kendall, I think everybody, or Jody and Derrick, I think everybody was just like, oh, I'll pick you.
Adrienne saying here that side glance he gave to Tina was shady, and I agree. Well, let me do it justice. That side glance he gave to Tina was shady, and I agree with that. It was very, very shady.
But
and
what I love though is that Tina doesn't really take it to heart. She's just like she's making a joke out of it in the confessional, and like it makes that moment not that bad, you know. But there's other people that might have been like, "Oh, I'm coming for you now," like, and like have some big blow up. I mean, well, maybe she will, but like from this episode, it just seems like she took it kind of like whatever. Like, I'm gonna make a joke out of this in the confessional. It's not gonna really hurt me to the core. So I liked how she handled being shafted by Nehemiah.
Oh, she's taking
100%.
mental notes. She's taking notes all day. I mean, she's trying to have the most fun, but she's also like, who can I work with? Who's strong? I mean, she is taking the most mental notes, and I love it. That's another reason why I love Tina this episode, because I knew she was like playing the game right from the very beginning. Like right from when she was on the boat with everybody, she was taking notes. She was looking at everybody going like, who's the biggest competitor? What kind of shape is everybody in? Who can I get underneath their skin kind of thing as she's talking. I mean, she is just playing this game from the very start, and I loved it.
She's going to like, yeah, you go ahead, Chantel.
No, I was gonna. You can go, because I was gonna talk not about Tina. So
I was gonna say with Tina, for me, I feel like if the episode 1 is anything to go by, and seeing the pots and the pans coming out moving forward, she is going to be the all-star of all-stars this season. I think that the moment she leaves, we're going to feel it as an audience, personally.
Will she?
And
Maybe she won't even leave. People are scared of her.
Yeah, maybe people won't vote her out, but I think Tina's not fully out of harm's way here, because she does have that, you know, past relationships and seasons that she's played with Jody and with Derrick. She very much sees Derrick and Jody as threats. She acknowledged that, hey, nothing has changed. These guys are still beasts. And she acknowledges that, and a lot of people, not just her, but I think in her case, she acknowledges that if you come close to winning, you're a threat, you know. And does Derrick and Jody use this as an opportunity here early on? We didn't see who's going to get put down there to go against Nehemiah and Ayanna. Do they use this as an opportunity to take another strong pairing here in Steve and Tina and put them down there against Nehemiah and Ayanna? Because I think that Nehemiah could have made the biggest mistake possibly by choosing Ayanna. Like, I don't know if they've got a past relationship or they know each other. They're from different eras of the game, but she clearly is not at his level physically. And it's to be expected. She hasn't been in the game for a very long time. She hasn't had to train like that. This is the best opportunity to get rid of Nehemiah right now, early in the game, put a strong team against them down there, and he potentially has an anchor next to him that he could lose this arena with. Do we think that Tina and Steve could be that team? Because who do they really have in their corner here this early in the game that's going to want to keep them safe?
I mean, I don't know. Jody, as like, she's very strong. I love how her and Derrick really were like, we're coming in. We've been working together for the last 20 years. We know each other really well, even though we haven't seen each other in like 15. Go down, dominate, and win that challenge and win the first daily. I just think, though, that Jody's still a little bit timid. I don't know if she's going to make that shot, because if Tina comes back, she comes back mad, and she comes back and will take you, like, do her best to take you out. So I don't know if Jody has it in her to strike this early. I don't know. I think that it would be better for her probably to want to work with Tina for now, because like if they take out all the threats right in the beginning, they become the only threat left in the game, and they can't win everything. So I think that Tina will stay for a little bit. They also know the formula of the show. They know that they brought back Tina because they want Tina on the screen. I think that they'll maybe play even some producer politics as well. It's like, okay, we're not going to take out the heavy hitter yet. You know, I don't know. I feel like she has at least a couple episodes before she gets thrown down by Jody anyways. Jody and Derrick.
Well, I think Jody would take this as an opportunity to maybe get more numbers on her side and try to like maybe throw in somebody that isn't very well connected in the game coming in with no connections. And I think Derrick is a little bit more bullish, especially when it is Nehemiah who's going down there and they can't really trust each other. And he's very connected in the challenge universe and in the house. I think coming from playing All-Star Season 1, I think he would try to make or take a shot at some of the heavy hitters trying to get out Nehemiah. It's just whoever you throw down there is going to remember that you threw them down there. This is the case. So, I mean, whoever you throw down there is going to remember it. I do want to pause the question of, do we think that it's going to be them working together, or is it going to be solo matches that are going to be played? So Nehemiah is going to go up against a random person, that one of the 4 people that Jody and Derrick put up for the house vote, and on the opposite end. I want to believe that possibly it could be solos, but I don't know.
Let me sort of run with that, because I automatically, when I watched the episode the first time, assumed that if you're in a pair, you're also going to be in a pair when you get thrown down there to fight for your life. But TJ's words were, this is going to be a double elimination. So that makes me think that it's going to be both. What he meant by that is it's going to be both a male and female elimination this round, which meant that they could nominate 4 people that the house would then decide which one of those 4 will go down there. But I don't think that 4 people were even the pairs. Like, I think he said 4 people can be put down there. So that does open it up to probably being an individual elimination when they go down there. It's probably going to be the guys do the same elimination as the females, but they'll have different rounds to go head to head heading down there. That would be my guess from what I've picked up.
Kind of like a free agents format, kind of like how in the eliminations every night there was a woman that would go home and a man that would go home, but they would be 2 eliminations going at the same time, and they would do the same elimination kind of thing. So
and in that case, Tina's very safe, because the only sort of, in my mind, I mean, watch me be proven wrong next week when she does get thrown down there, but in my mind, I'm thinking the only way that they throw Tina and Steve down there is if it was to take down a partner like Nehemiah and Ayanna, if Ayanna was to be the anchor to Nehemiah going down there. But this does change it up. I don't think they risk throwing Tina down there on her own against Ayanna. Potentially someone else that I was high on and you guys gave me a lot of stick for could be thrown down there. And Casey, who rightfully admitted coming into this episode, I liked her. I like the fact that she's acknowledged the fact that she wasn't great on the challenge before. And, you know, she goes out there, doesn't do too bad, but then doesn't make the shot at the end there to, text dismay when he tries to push her and she doesn't know how to roll the fingers when she has to land the basket. But they could say, like, let's just throw her down there. She doesn't have many connections either. She's not a threat to anyone if she does come back. I could very easily see her being the opponent to Ayanna going into that elimination. I don't know if there's going to be shots taking at the female side of things here, because why would you want to do that against Ayanna? I can see that against Nehemiah. That Derrick could say, I'm going to throw someone in there that potentially could take Nehemiah out. And I think that he should do that. I think if he does not take Nehemiah out this round, Nehemiah is going to be his demise long term, because I think Nehemiah is going to play a different game this season.
But if Derrick does something that, like, if he makes the first shot against Nehemiah and Nehemiah comes back, that's like starting a war. So I know that, Derrick likes to make these kind of moves or whatever, but he also has played a lot of these games to know that maybe it's too early to take that shot. So I'm just not sure if he's going to be doing that right away. My question was, though, were you guys saying that they're going to be choosing 2 teams or 4 people? Like, could they all be from different teams to go?
I think it's 4 people. I think it's 4 people.
4 people. I think so.
Yeah, it's not teams.
Yeah, 2 men, 2 women. And I think, he didn't say 2 teams or anything. I think the teams just get you, or pairs or solo, whatever they're in, gets you the win, helps you to win, gets you into safety,
or every man for himself,
or gets thrown into the elimination. Other than that, it's a solo kind of way they're going about it, which is very much like a free agents vibe, which I was very excited about hearing, especially when he said there's a possibility you could be thrown into the elimination. I was like, ooh, kill card? And then it was like, no, just a house vote. And I was like, okay, I'll take it.
Speaking the truth here, says I'm curious as to why they seem to be playing into the Derrick Nehemiah dynamic of it all. I think there's more than one reason. Firstly, Nehemiah was the, and again, finally they listened to us and brought back whoever finishes last goes straight into the elimination. Finally, they're doing that, which I think both myself and Chantel have been asking for quite a long time here. And obviously, with Nehemiah going down there and Derrick having the power to send someone up against them, that creates an interesting storyline. But I also think that it sets up a bigger storyline where at some point, either those two are going to learn to work together and trust each other, and they're going to need each other in the game, or it's going to accumulate and both of them going head to head, either one of them taking a shot at the other, or they both end up going up against each other. And I found it quite funny or amusing when Nehemiah said that Derrick is intimidated by him, because Nehemiah does have this self-belief where he's just like, I am a beast and I'm a Goliath in this game. I can take anyone out. But I'm like, Derrick is pretty good in his own right. I'm sure he's not intimidated. I think that just politically, they just don't jive potentially within the game. And I love both of these guys, so it saddens me to see them go up against each other. They were my number 1 and number 2 pick last season.
I don't know if I think Derrick is that strong strategically, and we know that Nehemiah doesn't play that way. So I'm hoping that they both decide to play together strategically, and that would probably be their best bet in doing well in this season, because physically they're quite strong. I can see them passing back and forth, daily wins, absolutely. And so if they're working together instead of striking against each other, I think that they will have longer. They'll get to the end more likely than if they're going against each other. So hopefully they both get strategic, decide to work together, keep their enemy close, and maybe strike right before the final.
I think we get a good old-fashioned challenge rivalry here, and they are not going to work together. They were talking about how each other is shady. They can't trust each other. I want to say, and I want to toot my own horn, because exactly what I wanted to hear from Nehemiah this episode, he said, and that was he wants to be cutthroat. He doesn't want to play the nice guy anymore. He's not going to play with his emotions. He's just going to get business done, and I love to hear it. Also, I want to toot my own horn with Janae, because I loved her strategy. She was everywhere. She was talking to everybody. She had everyone kind of socially pegged with like, Tina, I'll just shower with compliments. And when she was talking to Sophia, she was like asking, who do you know here? Kind of like getting a vibe on like where your connections are lying. And she's like, oh, I know Ayanna from back in the day. And then she was letting everybody know like, oh, I have 2 other people. Kind of like, I have some numbers here too if you want to work together. It's kind of like, yeah, she was like, and I love that she's like pegged her own game from last season, going like, oh, I kind of went under the radar. I can't do it this season. I have to change it up. And she showed that she was changing it up, being vocal, being out there. And I mean, I think everybody coming into this season watched last season. So they knew her and they knew how well she did last season. So, I mean, she can't really like play it down like, oh, I don't know. I can't. I haven't played in forever. No, she was out there being proud, being loud, and I loved it. I loved it.
So you're feeling pretty good about your Janae first pick here for the season. I mean, and I have to agree.
She could have a few more confessionals, but yeah, I do like.
She's. I think she's going to be. I think she's going to be there deep. I mean, there was a lot of talk about her having her best showing yet on the challenge, making it all the way to the final, and doing really well there until the end. I think. What was her overall finish for last season? Was it like 3rd or 4th or something like that? Third. Yeah, so it was and that was impressive. She went up against like there was no 1st, 2nd, and 3rd male, female. It was just run the challenge. Getting 3rd is not bad at all. And she did this in probably not the best shape she's ever been with in her life. You know, she's coming back this season having trained, being ready for what she's coming into. I think she's going pretty deep in this game, and I'm here for it. And I love the fact that, like you said there, Drew, she made the connections with the people that she had within the game already. She's got connections even from last season. I think she's very well placed to have a lot of social capital coming into this season, but she does it in a way where it's non-threatening. It's like, hey, just so FYI, this is what's going on here. And I think she does it subtly where people don't pick that she is doing it. She's pitching to them to join the army, per se, you know, and I'm living for it. I want to see where this takes her this season.
The only thing, though, I didn't see her talk to Jody that much. Did I miss something? Because Jody would be the most important person this season to be this episode to be cozying up to. And Jody seems like the type of person that is going to put in people that she doesn't have any sort of former bond or connection to. And so I don't think that they know each other. I don't think that she's gonna feel bad about putting Janae in. Like if she hears like, oh, she did really well, she's like, oh, I don't know her and she did well last season, I might throw her in. So I wouldn't be surprised if Janae might go down in this first one because she hasn't had the opportunity to get to know Jody yet. That worries me a little bit. But speaking of training, I was so happy that Katie's coming here to win, hopefully. The fact that she said that she's put in some work training and, you know, she's allowing herself to go in and come to win, not just to be here and give it a shot. So I'm hoping that it really follows through with Katie and that she does better than she did last season.
Oh, she's just for the fact that she was on All Stars 1, she knows what's coming. There's a few people here that have had 16 years, 20 years out of the game that they've got absolutely no idea what's about to hit them in the next 2 weeks. And Katie is prepared for that. She came in as one of those people who weren't prepared in the previous season. But it was a bit of a quiet episode, I felt, for Katie overall. We didn't see too much of her in this first episode, but it is still early days. I do want to touch on this here. Rodrigo brought up that how funny was it to see that everyone was laughing at Jasmine and Adam for going really slowly across the balance beam on the daily challenge, and then everybody else ended up doing the same thing. I think it was the smart move to do because I think if you not Adam, probably Ryan. Yeah, they probably got it confused with Ryan. But yeah, going over the balance beam, sort of, you know, not running over it, I think was never going to be the strategy here with two boats moving. Like the boats weren't standing still; they were moving as well, and it looked really wobbly. I think a lot more people would have fallen into the water. But I did find it funny how TJ had a proper go at them afterwards for you know, not really attacking the cause, and it's just funny because these guys are all stars. They've all got massive, you know, reputations and egos on them. But, you know, TJ does not care. You know, he will give it to you. And the back and forth between TJ and Darrell this episode was amazing. Obviously, Darrell didn't do it to his face. He would only do it in confessionals. But still,
Tina does it to his face, and TJ literally mocks him. like this is TJ that we know and love. Is like he comes at these players and he has like a little bit of a banter with them, and like I love that Tina didn't even skip a beat with like having that back and forth with TJ. She wasn't gonna keep you know, TJ's scolding us, and she's like, "Can you let me see you do that, TJ?" Like, yeah. I just loved how he seems relaxed. He's having fun. He loved having a go at them. Like, this is the version of TJ that I really like. I'm kind of bored with handler dad TJ. I want fun dad, like summer camp TJ. I like
plus TJ is looking good. Like, you know, he looks even more in shape. Like he looks happy, which definitely helps. I like the stubble on him. It looks good. He looked tanned. He looked a little bit like he's been in shape, like he's been doing some running and stuff. Like I thought, man, TJ really made sure he was in the best shape of his life here, coming into All Stars to you know, host this show. And I love it as well. Like, you know, it's great. I think that some of the themes that they've used recently in the proper challenge seasons have become a bit too much the same old every season, and I'm loving the All Stars feel to it at the moment. It's not he's a handler or anything like that, you know. It's just he's a bit more of himself. Like Darrell said, you know, TJ looks like he's come out here for a holiday. He's casually dressed and everything, but we know it's not a holiday. You know, it's going to be down to business here when $500,000 are at stake.
Yeah,
yes, lots of money.
I think back to like TJ when he was riding his bicycle in the middle of like Cutthroat. And he was like talking to the teams while they were like running this full course down this like flight path. When Cyrus in Gauntlet 2 was like frustrated with the results and was getting in TJ's face, and TJ was giving it back to him. I mean, I think even he transfers back, and I loved him in All Stars 1 and how much he was laughing and joking around with everybody. Like, I can't wait for this trivia challenge that's coming up. Like, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Now I'm going to mess this up, I'm sure, because I am always bad with names in the beginning of the season. But Derrick Chavez, right? That's him there. So Derrick Chavez, this episode, becoming the alter ego or Anita, or whatever you called him, Annette, this specific episode, and walking around with, I guess, hair extensions or a wig of Tina's and clothes of Tina's and playing up the character. I was very, very happy when my last pick was doing that this episode because I knew that he was going to be a big character. I don't remember him much from the early seasons. I don't know why, because he seems like a massive character and just brought so much fun here to the episode. I thought personally, and I was living for it, especially like I said, last pick getting me some good points here early on in the season.
I don't know if I'm just misremembering, but I don't remember him being this big of a character his previous season. So I think that he's like playing it up for like, okay, I'm here. I need to make some new friends. I need people to like me. I want to, it's the first night. 3. Exactly. I want to be invited back. So yeah, I think he's laying it on a little bit just because like he's probably the least known, even from some of the people that I haven't seen in like 15 years. Like I don't really remember much of him, even though he's been on a couple more seasons than some of the other people.
Yeah, he was always a target early. He was out early on his rookie season in Cutthroat. He made it decently far in Battle of the Seasons, but that season everybody wants to forget. Let's be honest. And bad. Rivals 2, he didn't last very long. Like he won an elimination.
Who was his rival?
Against Tyree and Dunbar. Rob from Battle of the Seasons. Season 23 is Rob. Yeah. Redhead Rob, or so he wasn't, and there was always some like bigger personality that was always like capping it off. I mean, that's when Zach was on there yelling at people and throwing his helmet at everybody, and Trishelle and Anissa were yelling at each other. So I mean, there was just a lot going on to where Derrick was kind of like in the background a little bit. So yeah, he was a very big personality, and this is some of the stuff that we don't get to see on seasons of the challenge. Like everybody just gets very serious. It's $1 million, but even with $500,000 on the line, let's just have some fun. Let's have some fun with it.
And Tech decides to do that, starting the party off right with his classic skinny dip into the pool. We gotta love Tech.
Yeah, 100%. We'll talk about Tech in a second. Speaking the truth, says that Derrick was always playing from the bottom, so kind of what you guys said. So that's why he never got to relax and just be himself on some of the challenge seasons. And I agree, Tech, I'm a big Tech fan after season 1. I loved everything that Tech brought to season 1. And again here, just confessional gold from the start. He's going to be a big character. I am still worried for Tech in the sense that, Chantal, you brought this up and it's stuck in my head now. Who is afraid of throwing Tech down there? What aura does he have? The only thing that Tech really has in his favor here is that people might want to keep him around because he's fun, and he's someone that they want to have fun with. They might as well enjoy their time there for the 2 weeks that they're there. But I do think that if you're going to go down there and face someone and you've got the clout, you've got the social capital to go up against someone, I think Tech might still be one of the people that will get thrown down there early-ish this season because people think that they're going to be able to beat them. I am happy to see that Nehemiah and Tech seem to be on good terms after last season where they did go head-to-head in the elimination, and they seem to, or at least Tech wants to work with Nehemiah saying, hey, I've got your back here in the room after Nehemiah lost daily, knowing that he's going to go in there. So that at least is encouraging to see for Tech. I just don't know who else Tech has got here this season that's going to keep him safe. Hopefully some of those early connections that he made last season will continue to help him here. But I definitely did not see anything that sort of showed us that the season 1 All-Stars crew are going to look after each other. Not this episode.
Yeah, I also think that Ayanna is a pretty good confessional queen as well. Naming Tech's member his King Scepter, I think is what she called it. And so she's very, like, her words that she uses and this, like, how she describes things. I think that if she lasts a couple episodes, we'll see a lot of confessionals from her. She has a way with words, definitely.
I'm worried for Ayanna here. Who is she going up against here in this first round and beating guys like that first? And I've only seen one performance on the challenge, so you guys can tell me I'm completely off base here. But I am worried for her going into the elimination here early on. Maybe someone like a Jasmine, but Jasmine's not going to be thrown down there. She's too well protected at this point. Who's she going up against? Maybe Casey, but Casey is a lot younger than her. Casey potentially could do some athletical stuff. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting one here. She's a big question mark for me, but for the sake of the confessionals, I agree with you, Chantal. I hope she does make it longer in the game because I do think she is TV gold.
I will say that let's not sleep on Tech. I just did a shot-for-shot breakdown of the trailer that was at the end of this past week's episode, and I'm not going to give anything away, but Tech seems to be featured a lot and very well represented in the season. That trailer breakdown's coming out on Saturday, tomorrow. But I think Tech is going to be good politically in the game. He's very social. I think Ayanna could win against a couple of people. I think she could win against Melinda, who I don't think is going to go down there. But then again, she could go down there. She's 0-6 in elimination records, but she's coming in a whole different person. Maybe she's going to come in with a little bit of fire, get her first elimination win. I think she could definitely win against Casey, maybe like Leah, who hasn't been on the challenge since like season 8, the Inferno, where she lost against Kendall. So, I mean, I think there's a few players that Ayanna could win against in elimination. It just depends on what she can talk to with Jody. Maybe Jody gives her who she wants to have go into the elimination against, and see if she can work some magic with her social game and political game that we haven't seen. Maybe Ayanna will sleep in her uniform and she can win this round.
To have it come full circle around. You did the shot for shot. Did we see Casey in other shots?
Do you want me to tell you that?
No, don't. I don't want to be spoiled. Do it after. Do it off air. Last time I watched your breakdown, which it's not your fault. It's definitely the producers showing us too much. I feel like for season 37, I saw more than what I wanted to see because it spoiled a couple of eliminations for me. So I think that with this one, sadly, I'm going to give it a skip because I don't want to be spoiled. And the producers should do better to not spoil us on what's going to happen in the eliminations. But I want to come into these things oblivious. So you guys talk about it off air. Don't break my heart this early. I've got Casey in my team. Let me have a false sense of hope or security here early on in the season. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, something that stood out for me, and I don't know if it was something that stood out for anybody else, because I'm new to the show, I'm trying to get to know a lot of, I say new, I'm new to the earlier characters prior to Fresh Meats 2, and I've seen 2 seasons prior to Fresh Meats 2, so I know a few of the earlier players like Tina and Jody and then that are coming back here, but one of the players I don't know is Janelle, and Janelle had a conversation with with Darrell here early on, and they know each other from outside of the game. They're both champions. They're both going to keep it quiet. They know each other. I like Janelle. She seems someone that is quietly confident in her own ability. I feel like she and Darrell together are going to do some damage here in this season, and I felt like we saw this specific scene for a reason early on here, that they do have that outside connection. It's either going to come back to bite them in the butt, or they're going to take it very deep. And Darrell is all over this first episode. So by proxy, if he can bring someone like a Janelle in here, I'm expecting big things from her here with Darrell in this season. What are your feelings about seeing Janelle come back here for this episode? And what can we expect for her, for those people that are listening to this podcast that are similar to myself, that are new to the show, that haven't seen some of these OGs play the game? Can we expect big things from the former Inferno 3 champion here coming back in the game?
I think so, especially if she's going to be linking up with Darrell. And so if they have the opportunity to work together, they will. So I think that they are going to be a duo that's going to be a force to be reckoned with. From what I remember from her previous season, she's like not really afraid of anybody. Like, she will go down, she will compete. She's not scared. Like, she's not a timid player. She's pretty athletic. She has a win. Like, she is a winner type of personality. And so I think that she's going to do well. I expect her to do well, and especially if she has this really great connection with Darrell. Darrell doesn't really like losing. So if he has this connection, I can see them working well together to go far in the game. So I have high hopes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so Adriana here said that Janelle said on the Mike Lewis podcast that she auditioned for Real World because of her connection with Darrell. So I'm here for those two, which is great. Like, I mean, I love seeing these connections. I love hearing about people that have got these secret alliances outside. And you can only get this when you haven't seen these people on your screen every season. That's what's made the actual challenge a little bit stale and boring, because the alliances have just been set by playing the game together for 6 seasons in a row or 8 seasons in a row. But with the way it's working now, with they're making enough changes, even from All Stars 1 to All Stars 2, and having a different cast here. It is actually opening it up, the floodgates, where it is going to be less predictable to see who's going to go deep in the game, because Janelle might have this connection to Darrell, but does she have this connection with other people this season that are going to keep her safe as well? Darrell is a very important person to have, but if he's going to try and keep it a secret, there's only going to be that much he can do to keep us safe before people are going to catch on that they do have a better or bigger connection than what he's sort of letting on to. I did notice that here in the first episode as well, that my first pick for this season for the females, Kendall, was paired up with Darrell. No surprise, because they have got a very well-known friendship in the game, and they both seem to do pretty well together here as well. So Kendall was pretty quiet this episode. We didn't see too much of her, just enough to know that she's on the season, and enough to give me hope that there's more to come at a later stage within the game, and that she will hopefully make it further. We did get her talking about the fact that she was very gutted about leaving one elimination before the finale started, and that this season she would really like to get into the finale. And I still think she could be very threatening when it comes to the endurance side of that. I don't know how well she's going to do with puzzles or eating different things and all that, but could be potentially another person that could be slept on. I'm very interested to see how this season's going to play out. But one thing I will say is that every single person this episode got a confessional. Like, I don't think anybody was skipped. So hats off to the Challenge All-Stars producers for giving everybody confessional. It was very confusing to try and podcast about it, because there was just so much happening and so many notes that needed to be taken here. And I'm also getting to know about half of the cast, or 60% of the cast, as well as this is happening. So how did you guys feel about the pacing of the episode and getting a little bit from everybody here in this episode?
I wanted more. I wanted it to be either an hour and a half or 2 hours. Like they did a really great job, I thought, with like introducing people and seeing their relationships and seeing people interact with each other, and seeing it not just be about going to the daily right away. Like they're outside, they're having fun. Then we get the Nehemiah toast, which have we been doing the toast still? Like, no, like that was like such a big staple I remember from older seasons. So like we got the toast, we got the jumping in the pool naked, like we got all the fun stuff that I like about the challenge. The only thing that I would like to have had was a conclusive ending of an episode, and that would be with an elimination. So I wish that they would at least made it a little bit longer, as opposed to us like waiting. Just kind of excited just to see how these dynamics play out. I would have loved a longer episode, but I really enjoyed it. I loved all the music that they had in there. I'm just like, you got Paula Abdul. Like, I'm like, oh, these songs that I used to love back in the day. So I
but
really
a Backstreet Boys
episode. Of course.
But a Backstreet Boys. Backstreet's back. I loved it. I mean, they do an amazing job with their music selection every single season, and especially with All Stars. Yeah, because it's for us when we're watching All Stars, even if I haven't seen some of those earlier seasons, like I remember growing up listening to Backstreet Boys. I'll have to admit it here on this podcast, so it's forever on the internet now. But you hear this stuff, you Paula Abdul and all of this old school music, and it takes you back to where you were as a teenager listening to this music as well, which is pretty nostalgic.
I mean, you can confess it all you want, because in high school I bought an NKOT BSB album that had the best hits of both, and it was the most played CD I had in high school. I love this. I love this episode. I loved how long they gave everybody in the confessionals. I just wish it was like an hour and 15. Like, I know that they probably wanted to get us all reacquainted with everybody, how they are in their lives, where they at. Give us some people to root for, which I was very happy that they didn't try to rush anybody and everybody did get in a confessional. I just think that, and probably because of the elimination and holding back, they didn't want anybody to like lose their faves or have somebody leave so early on, but it's going to come sooner or later. And it's going to come probably very early on in next episode. So like, give us an hour and 15 or an hour long episode, just make it a little bit bigger, a little bit longer, and let us have the full episode, the full feeling of a full challenge, as well as seeing everybody get their camera time. But I can't wait for the elimination. I can't believe we're having to wait. There was a point where I was just having such a good time, and then all of a sudden I like looked down and I was like, oh, there is. We're at 38 minutes. This is going to end soon, and we're just coming back to the house after the daily.
Yeah, it was so disappointing. I didn't look at the timer until end of the episode. I'm like, wait, Where's the elimination? Like, you guys are leaving me on this cliffhanger. Speaking the truth here has got an interesting question for you guys to have a think about. Is there any challenges you'd never want to see on All Stars? You guys know of
Anybody from the current Big Brother?
I guess, yeah. But I think that's the easy. I think that's the easy cop out answer. Who else would you never want to see? I guess outside of the Fessy, Casey, Josh group on. You could probably put Amber B on there. A lot of these guys have not really been playing enough to be on All Stars in any case. But is there anybody else?
But
that
they
you
could
just
do
don't
All
wanna see?
Stars like if it's like Janelle and Kaser and like people from back in the day. Like I'm here for
Reality
that.
All
But
Stars, yeah, like the challenge All Stars versus Reality All Stars. Like I'm there for that type of season. I think that'll be amazing. Can you imagine Dr. Wall?
I would say, are you the one? I wouldn't want to see anybody outside of. I want to keep this as like challenge back in the day, real world versus road rules, as closely as you can possible. Because I look at All Stars as OGs, which was how Mark kind of pitched the idea, and so I want to keep it close to the vest as possible, where it is just real world, road rules, and fresh meat for as long as we can until they're going to open up the floodgates. I mean, that's why they named it All Stars. It was catchy. It's more like inclusive with whoever they can bring in. So it's going to happen at some point. They did reach out to Tori, I guess, and Nelson was the whole thing. So, I mean, it's going to happen at some point, but I would like to keep it real world, road rules, and fresh meat for as long as humanly possible until they're finally going to open up the floodgates.
Well, I totally agree with you because those are the shows that I was watching that got me excited about watching real world versus road rules, the challenge. Like that's what it is. And so I was up in arms when they started bringing in Are You the One? I was like, they can't be on this show. Like it's not about and I was so pissed, obviously, because I'm a purist. And so, like me, it might be a cop out, but I don't like all these new shows coming into the mix. So, I don't want the Big Brother people. I don't even want the Survivor people unless we're doing some old school All Stars. And it's like, the Boston Robs of it all. It's going to go back out there and play the challenge because he never got to play when he was 25 or whatever. So
see, people are gonna hate me for saying this. I don't mind.
You hate Boston Rob? I forgot.
No. I'm not even going down that road. But and I don't hate Boston Rob, by the way. I just think he's overplayed at this point. Like he's just been on the show too often. But I could see a Boston Rob come onto a challenge All Stars versus Reality All Stars. I would be there for that, because it's not him coming back to Survivor for the 10th time. You know what I mean? Like it's just I feel like use them in other areas. Like I would watch Boston Rob and Amber for a third time in All Stars if he wanted to go do that. Like I don't mind Boston Rob. I just feel like in the Survivor world, he's just been overused. He's got his head on Mount Rushmore. What more does he need to do on Survivor? Like it's done. It's played out, right? But I wanted to go and say, people will not agree with me as a new school fan. They'll be like, this Chris guy, what does he know? But because I don't have that background with having watched Real World and Road Rules and where this comes from, I don't mind seeing other All Stars that I've sort of seen in earlier seasons making their way over to the show, as long as they were big enough. One person for me that, and I don't want it to be just cop out people that they're bringing in, but one person I do not want to see back, and I don't want to see. So to answer this question for All Stars is Camilla. I've got absolutely no love for her. Don't want to see her back on the show. So that would be my choice of a person that I've seen that I just don't care for. Again, Sam here does say that Lex, apparently, I don't know how true this is, Lex from Survivor has said that he would do the challenge. So that would be an old school Survivor there, Chantel. If he wanted to do it, like maybe a Lex and a Johnny Fairplay. I mean, Johnny Fairplay's got some connections with he dated some of the Real World stars from back in the day. I think he might have actually even dated Katie at one stage.
Katie? I don't remember
Katie
that.
Cooley.
Oh
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Bring Laurel. Absolutely. Bring Laurel, Sam. I would love to see Laurel on either. She could still probably hang with the people in the regular season. But I'd love to see Laurel back on the challenge. Any of them. All Stars, regular, whatever. Who else do I not want to see?
Where's Jordan from? Like, cause he's rumored to be on the next season. Is
Real World.
Real World.
Real World.
Okay, cool. Okay. Yeah. And he's another person that could play on actual seasons and this season. And I mean, there's a whole bunch of people they could still bring back, right? That they haven't brought back at this point.
Which I think this is like I want to bring this up, and it came into my brain because Real World had such a huge like moment in TV history. And now that they're bringing back Road Rules, I think for just a Paramount Plus exclusive, I think that there is a space for Real World. Let's bring back Real World, even if it has to be a Paramount Plus exclusive, and then let's start filtering those players into the challenge, and kind of like then it's like hand feeding the mouth or whatever, because now it's like, oh, these players are coming from a Real World season that you can only get on Paramount Plus, and so now they're on MTV on the challenge. They're from Real World. They've been vetted to be in this Real World atmosphere or Road Rules atmosphere. And now it's like, oh, I like this person. I'm going to go watch their Real World season. I'm going to go get a subscription or whatever. And I just feel like there's a space, especially with how nostalgic, and they're bringing back the casts from back in the day back to do it now. I think that it's a good point to try to hit it. And it's like, it can't be that hard to produce it. Like, it's just a whole bunch of people living in a house and walking around a city. It can't be that expensive. So I just feel like there's a space for it. There is a zeitgeist for it to exist, and that people would watch it.
I would love that. And because I remember, like, even Corey was saying the reason why he auditioned for the Real World is because he ultimately wanted to be on the challenge. And that used to be the only pathway, was to be on one of those two shows. And so instead of like picking from everywhere else, create your new pool of people with content, so people be like watching, so they can see who these new players are. They're going to be coming onto the show. I 100% agree with you that it would be a way to kind of get that engine going again. I think that's what's really been falling apart. Like, the wheels falling off the bus here is because they're realizing that the formula, it actually really worked very well. I was looking forward to see, like, ooh, who are they bringing from the most recent seasons of, the Real World and Road Rules? Who are they bringing onto the challenge? That's what I was looking forward to seeing. And now it's like, oh, who from around the world has a lot of followers that they're going to put onto a season? And so it's just a little bit of a different kind of machine that they're building that I don't think is working. I think they should go back to what they used to do best and have those two shows, or two shows similar, and have that be their funnel. 100%.
What's the does any of you guys know what the numbers look like with the Paramount Plus, the Challenge All Stars 2 versus the real? Because we're saying that it's not working, and I hear you on that, but do we know what the comparison are between All Stars 2 and All Stars 1, the viewership versus what the actual show is getting? Because the one thing that I do want to mention is that shows around the world, like, no matter what it is currently, are struggling when it's just the old format and it's not on a digital platform. A lot of people don't watch it live anymore. They watch it afterwards on their own time. So I find it very difficult to look at ratings just at the point of the show being live. You have to kind of try and track it differently, I think, where you've got to go back after a week and say, okay, what did we actually get here? Because live, then maybe not as many people have watched it, but a lot of people watched it afterwards. Because the same argument I've heard being made for Survivor this season, where people are saying, they've lost 2 million viewers per episode this season, and it's because of the show and all the twists and some of the political stuff that is happening early in the season. And there's been a whole bunch of complaints out there, right? But we've also got Survivor now on Paramount Plus, and it's more easily accessible to people who want to watch it at their own time digitally. And there's other ways that I just feel like watching at historical data on when a show was live is not an accurate way of making that. And I hear you. I'm not diminishing how the older fans feel about the show and the show that they loved growing up watching, and things changing. But it's just, if we look at the data, what does the data say? And I don't know if that makes sense as a counter argument, but clearly something must be working for them, because they're still going down this road after so many seasons now. And I don't think that the challenge proper is going to change the way that they do things. I don't think they will go back to just having real world people on there. I think they will probably end up choosing some of these real world people to go over there. It would just make sense naturally that they would have an additional pool of people that they can take from. But I do think that the challenge wants to continue to bring more athletes and higher followers and those types of things. They want to see themselves as a sport. So unless they completely change the direction of where that season is going, I don't know if we're ever going to be moving back to that.
I'm not saying like that's not the only aisle, but I mean, I'm just saying, like, everybody's talking about Real World. Like, I also think that they tried to bring it back on Facebook only at one point, and it just wasn't working because nobody's gonna watch it there. Now you got your own system that you're putting out there. I've been dying and looking for statistics on Paramount Plus shows, All-Star 1, All-Star 2. I've been looking everywhere. If anybody who's watching this finds it, hit me up and send me a link because I am looking for it. Paramount is holding everything close to the vest right now. So
Speaking the truth here, says, I agree. Bring back Real World. I remember watching those seasons of Real World and waiting on pins and needles to see him compete on the challenge. And we know how that worked out, but it was entertaining. So watching Theo's season. Okay, yep. And we've also had a couple, I think Tatiana here said she would love to see Sarah from The Gauntlet come back, someone I don't know. So you guys can comment on that. And then the second person she also wants to see back is Abram, who obviously I do know. So yeah, so that'll be good to see. If I think he was rumored to be on one of the seasons, or at least he was an alternate, wasn't he, Abram?
Maybe it was one.
One season. Okay.
I mean, maybe it was season 1 of All Stars that he was rumored
I think
to be
season
back
1.
on.
Yes.
Yeah.
I haven't heard him recently. Yeah. I mean,
Sarah, any good? Do you guys have any feedback
I can't
on
remember
this?
who's the Sarah.
So
Sarah
I'll show you
Grayson
guys.
from
Yeah,
Gauntlet. She went into 5 eliminations, won all 5. She made it to the finals. Her whole team did not want her on there. It was like her and Katie were like the most hated on their team. Like that she was the pariah because Veronica just didn't like her and didn't like Katie, but they kept on winning and they made it to the finals and won. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Sarah back.
I don't remember her, but anybody from those back in those days, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I totally remember you now. Except for Leah, I don't remember Leah at all. Even when they show clips of her, obviously she looks a lot different. Hair color is different, older, etc. But like, I don't remember her at all. It's so funny. Yeah. So
yeah. All right, guys. All Stars 2. It's a wrap. Episode 1's done. Is there anything we did not touch on? I know there was a lot of happen. There's a lot of talking in between. I do think we probably made lemonade out of lemons here because they didn't give us an elimination. So we didn't have a cherry on top of the cake here for the end of the episode. But we ended up talking about this a lot longer than what I thought, to be honest, about All Stars 2. And for good reasons. I'm excited to see how this season plays out. Is there anything else you guys wanted to bring up in regards to this episode of All Stars 2? We didn't really talk about Tyler. He had 1 or 2 confessionals. He was the bartender on the beach giving everybody drinks. And he had some key confessionals about, again, hey, if you're winning something, you're the target. I've gone up against some of the best and I've won. And again, like we all know, he has beaten some of the best in the game. So I think winning 2 out of 4 seasons, I enjoyed seeing him in his early seasons, and I'm expecting some big things from him here this season. He is quite tall, and he does look in shape.
But isn't he another one in that now they've seen the trailer that you guys are talking about that looks like he gets at least winded? I'm worried. I'm worried.
Fingers
But
crossed.
I'm so happy to see him on. I mean, these could all be red herrings. They're not going to show us everybody that gets eliminated. So
No.
I'm just going to go with the fact that they're really trying to, fake us out here and think that some of our favorites are going to be gone at some point through medical DQ. But I think we talked about everything about this episode. I love it.
The only thing I wanted to bring up was the point when you brought up Janelle. There was a point where Derrick was talking to Jody night 1, and he was like, oh, you're, of course, the strongest woman here. And then he named off 4 other women that he says that are pretty strong. And he said Jody, Katie, Janelle, and he said then he thinks Sophia. So not Janelle already having that Darrell secret, like, confidant alliance going on. She's already, like, being, like, compared to the other women and is being taken notice as one of the stronger women competitors in the game. So I thought that was interesting as well. And I'm also very shocked that Derrick didn't throw out Janae out there. Maybe he doesn't view her as a strong competitor, or maybe he's trying to keep it underneath his sleeve as like an ace on the sleeve. But I thought that was interesting that he named 4 women and Janae just slipped his mind. So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, like I don't have much to add to that. I think we've gone pretty. This is a record for us, an hour and 47 minutes here to talk about both these episodes. Luckily, we are getting closer to one of these challenge episodes. I can never talk too much about the challenge, let's be real, but we are getting close to the challenge 37's end here, and we will be slowly but surely transitioning over to doing the All Stars 2 recaps only when the season finishes. But plenty more to come here for the challenge 37 and All Stars 2, which has just started, and I'm really excited to be talking to you guys next week again at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday about the next 2 episodes here for the Challenge 37 and All Stars 2. As always, Drew, give us a little bit of a rundown of what is happening on the Angel Cake channel.
I'm coming double time on Thursdays with a review and recap for Challenge 37 and the Challenge All-Stars later down in the Thursday night area evening. And then I will have a Friday Tiny Table Talk on Friday for the Challenge All-Stars or Challenge 37 and then All-Stars on Saturday morning. And then I'm going to have a couple of extra videos coming out. I have one this week, and then I think I'm going to skip next week. So be on the lookout. I think it's going to come out Sunday, hopefully. But if not Sunday, then Tuesday. I'm going to have an extra video this week that is pretty special that I've been working on for a good little bit here. So I hope everybody enjoys it.
Woohoo.
Yeah, I'll be looking out for that one for sure. Chantel, what's happening on Reality Realness with 3 S's?
Thank you for remembering the 3 S's. I'm probably gonna go live in like 10 minutes and go to talk about All Stars 2 just by myself, just kind of like getting my thoughts out about this first episode as well. Then on Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we'll talk about The Bachelorette. Thursdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, talking about Survivor. Mondays, I do Survivor rankings with Sarah from Nerdtainment. And then I'm here with you guys on Fridays. So that's all I think that I'm up to, but I always forget something every week. So probably more.
Yeah.
So just follow me and hit that notification bell and you'll know whenever I go live.
Great. Well, like I said, we'll be back next week, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, to talk about the challenge, both 37 and All Stars. We've also got the Survivor buffs each week coming out with a recap on Survivor 41, and that has happened this week. Some of the weeks they do have special guests. I didn't have time to see if they had one this week, but I know that the Godfather, Carl from David vs. Goliath, was one of their guests for last week's recap. So have a look out for that. If you do want to support what we're doing here, guys, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, hit the like button, and we will see you next time. Thanks for your support as always.